of significance to change our trajectory at all. I'm not talking about the white man right now. I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about the white man right now. I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about the white man right now. I'm talking about you. 54 years ago, this coming Monday. 54 years ago, this coming Monday, Dr. King would have been murdered. We ain't done nothing in 54 years. Al Sharpton ain't gonna do it. He gets too much money from white people. Benjamin Crump ain't gonna do it. All he looking for is death checks. NAACP ain't gonna do it. All they do is spy on black activists and revolutionaries. Urban League ain't gonna do it. Controlled by white folks. Black fraternities and sororities ain't gonna do it. Too bougie and too multicultural. Black church ain't gonna do it. Too in love with money and ego and selfishness. None of the black organizations have done anything since Dr. King's murder. But we want to sit around criticizing Dr. King. We want to sit around criticizing Dr. King. Show me a leader since King who has come anywhere near. Anywhere near. You can't. Nobody can touch him. Nobody can touch him. Show me anyone who's come anywhere near El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. Nobody has come anywhere near Malcolm, and nobody can touch him. They gave you the Voting Rights Act because they murdered Malcolm a few weeks earlier. You got the Voting Rights Act because Malcolm died for it. You got the Voting Rights Act in 65 because Malcolm died for it. I keep telling you, Negroes, you don't get nothing in this country. No disrespect, he don't compare to Dr. King or Malcolm. No disrespect. That man never fought for nothing for black folks.
Now, this is the problem with our people. And that'll stop perfect picture with his eyes closed because he thoroughly is blind. Now, let me get right into it. The prophet Isaiah chapter 3. Let's see here. No, let me go to chapter 9. 9 or 6. Hold on. 9:16. There we go. Isaiah 9 and 16. This is what these individuals don't understand. That they are so lost is ridiculous. Let me get to the verse. Isaiah 9 and 16. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. You see, this is what we're dealing with in our nation, because they still playing the same tune that they've been playing for decades and decades. Let me get Jeremiah 4 and 22. For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are stupid children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. You see, this is what's going on with our people and these fake false leaders that's causing our people to error, that's destroying our people because they still pushing the same old narratives. Jeremiah chapter 5 verse 26. For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait as he that set snares. They set a trap. They catch men. 27. As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. Therefore they are become great and waxing rich. See, these leaders got great names. Their names are great. See, they can go around the country and find what our peoples is uh, hanging at, and set up all types of speaking occasions, but they not doing nothing but pushing the same narrative that the slave master is pushing. See, the slave master say, well, y'all come from that big landmass over there, and it's named Africa. So y'all a bunch of African. But see, that's is a bold-faced lie. It's no such thing as an African. An African just popped up. That word just popped up. See, it wasn't even no African in in no other culture but to around the Renaissance time, because you had a man named Francesco in either the 1300s, 13th century, and he wrote a poem that was called Africa. That poem made that name and is the origin of that name, because even the Roman general that he made the poem for, French Africanus, that Roman general name wasn't Africa. His name was Africanus. So Africa didn't get any fame or recognition until this Francesco man wrote a poem. See, he wrote a poem, and the poem name was Africa. He was the one that started the phrase Dark Ages. See, the Dark Ages wasn't being talked about until this Francesco, whatever his name, uh, came on the scene. He started Dark Ages, and he started the word Africa. It was famous all over Europe, and the Dark Ages became famous all over the place. And then the Renaissance happened a little bit after. And then you got the slave master from the 1400s to 1500s, 1600s. They reinstated the word around the 1700s, because they wasn't calling nobody African in the barely in the 1800s or the 1700s. It got popular again once the slaves was coming off the plantation and they saw that the literacy laws wasn't gonna work, and they saw that the slaves were set off of the plantations, and now they was owned by the state, and the state was looking out for them in certain ways where they could read and kind of start to mingle into the society. That's when they start to present this Africa crap, false narrative. There's no history to that word, and it's no people that was called Africa. It was no man that was called Africa. See, the so-called white man name was Africanus, and then another so-called white man name was, made the name Africa famous. And he want to go on that narrative. He pushing that same narrative. You might as well be a Christian preacher. See, he wants to push a narrative that go against history. See, Christians believe the Bible is a religion. See, the Bible is not a religion. The Bible is the historical records that these dragons, these red dragons, stole out of Africa. Stole out of Israel. See, he got me talking about a freaking Africa. They stole it out of Israel when they sacked Israel in 70 A.D. They went in there and took all the valuables of these people's stuff. But then Constantine in 300 around the 300, when they got the rulership back, and these dragons went to the bottomless pit, they went out of rulership. That's when the Constantine Byzantine Empire presented the records and started spreading the records all over the place. So now you got so many historical records from them people that they couldn't destroy it. Then you had the end of their empire, the Byzantine Constantine Empire, where you had other kings ruling like King James. He made sure he produced it in the most modern language, the English language that they had came up with in 1500, 100 years prior, and everybody was uh, going with that language. So he said, "Let me translate it from the Hebrew and the Greek to directly to English." And he got a bunch of scholars to go do that because he's seen that these people are trying to put us in. He see the prophecy. This might be the prophecy, and don't know what kind of dream the Lord gave him, but he put it in the play where we can get our records and see what the history was, and it's certified history. All the kingdoms that was in the Bible is certified historical kingdoms. Egypt, Babylon, Assyria, uh, what you call Nineveh with Nimrod, uh, Babylon, uh, Greece, and Rome. It's certified kingdoms with certified history, and none of the history contradicts itself. None of the names of the kings contradict itself. They got statues of the kings because the kings was rich people, so they produce all kind of evidence of themselves. See, but these people want to push that stupid Christian narrative. The so-called slave master who came up with a lie about what our records was talking about and presented this lie as some kind of religion or some kind of culture that never existed. And these people want to talk about Africa and all this crap, but you pushing Christianity, man. You still pushing Christianity. That's what you doing. You pushing the philosophies of the so-called white man. You pushing the narrative that people got new names now, and the name that was in history, the nation of Israel, the tribe of Judah. This is just fairy tales. Let's go with the black. Then when you get black, white, and colored people, that come from what's the guy? Blumenbach, Joanne Blumenbach. He came up with this, and these evolution people, they came up with this narrative of its categories due to the skulls and due to the skin color. They put in categories of species of humans when there's only one human species with different families. See, the whole world was organized by families until Blumenbach and these Illuminati members up there in Germany, the tribe of Teman from the nation of the Edomites, they came up with this philosophy of skin color and skull structure and where you come from in certain areas of the world where you are part of a race. What the heck is a race? The world was all about families, and those families had created a nation. They grew to what they was called a nation after that. So like the nation of Israel, it was a man named Jacob, changed his name to Israel. Then he multiplied so much that he had a nation of Israel. And so this is what the narrative that these Negroes is pushing is Christianity. You're not pushing no Pan-Africanism. That's a lie. Pan-Africanism was created by the so-called white man. That's what that was created. You didn't create that. See, I done went over my time, but them the main verses that I want to bring out. You got false leaders, false prophets, false teachers that's teaching falsehoods to the people and destroying the people, misleading them and destroying them because they want to push the so-called white man's religion. That's what First Maccabees, the first chapter talk about. It was Israelites that pushed the religion of the so-called white man. Y'all a bunch of Greeks. Y'all ain't Israelites no more. You don't even know what it is. If you call yourself Israelite, we gonna put you to death. If you start practicing them laws that you were supposed to be practicing, we gonna put you to death. And a bunch of Israelites went along with it and said, okay, we Greeks. We a bunch of Greeks. The white man say we Greeks, so we Greeks. See? That's what Christianity is, just the philosophy of the white man. You see? And this is what these false leaders, Umar Johnson, and it's a whole bunch of other ones. They pushing the same narrative of the so-called white man and act like they talking against him. See? And that's what the so-called CIA and these other organizations do. They send spies. Go act like you against us, and we ain't gonna mess with you. You can talk reckless all you want, and we'll prop you up. That's why what's the CIA director, Hoover or whatever his name was. He said we gonna create the Messiah. We gonna create the leader. If there's anybody that pop up, we gonna create him. We not gonna let nobody come up and start running their mouth, and we ain't had nothing to do with it. We gonna create him, and he gonna say what he gonna act like he against us, and he ready to save his people. But we controlling him the whole while. Talking about a Malcolm X and a Martin Luther King and any other darn person. All them people went to New York City and they seen the Israelites prosper. He talking about ain't nobody did nothing. The Lord has been doing something. Yahweh Shai, a Mashiach, who they ignorantly call Jesus Christ, he been setting up his men, and his men been telling the certified truth. Talking about black people. Ain't nobody black. Nobody's skin is black. Nobody's skin is white. That's a lie from the pits of hell. And the white man is hell. His whole land is hell. Meaning death. They represent death. And you pushing death because you pushing his philosophy. You getting your people drunk off the wine that this Negro is pushing. And he the black person, see, because black means wicked. He is the wicked on the planet. That's Malachi chapter 1 verse 4. The so-called white man is the wicked, the border of wickedness who God gonna hate forever. See, and he propped them up just like he propped America up. America is full of wickedness. He propped Egypt up, and Egypt was full of wickedness. He propped Babylon up, and Babylon was full of wickedness. See, just because he's raised these peoples up, that don't mean nothing. He raising them up to destroy they behind. See, that's why he say he coming like a thief in the night. He don't always do stuff how men do them. He'll set your behind up. How you think it's a bunch of people that will set you up? Because he got that. He started that narrative. He created that narrative of setting somebody up. Got them thinking one thing, and you hit them from another direction. Because he's a man of war. He deals with deception too. War is what was the god of the art of war is based on deception. So if he's a man of war, he gonna do things in deceptive ways. See, he'll set your behind up for failure. And that's what's going on with these Negroes. They believing these false leaders pushing the same old stupid narratives so they can go smoke their weed and be wicked behind people and smoke cigarettes and go in the Christian church and go in the Muslim mosque and go do ignorant mess. They can stay in their sins and stay doing wickedness like the so-called white men. That's why they listen to these idiots. But I'm going to leave it there. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, and Kakadash. Double honors to the elders pushing the truth. Peace to the elect worldwide. The blacks, Hispanics, and Native American descendants of slaves scattered around the globe on slave ships and through many captivities. Our kingdom of Israel is at hand. Shalom.